It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Obi-Uchendu. Great to have you here as always. It's our very last show before Christmas. I think Christmas is a Sunday actually, so our next show is going to be on Christmas Day. Hopefully you'll be able to watch us through your food and all of this merriments that you'll be going through. But today we'll have a great show for you as we always do. We're starting off, of course, with the week that was, and it's been a very eventful week on so many fronts, from Gambia to presidential wedding and of course we also got the budget presented to Nigerians for 2017. But I have here with me Ahmed Agbabiaka, who's a regular here to help us dissect some of these issues. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off with the budget now, and that's probably the biggest news for the week, because a lot of Nigerians weren't sure it was going to happen. Also because the 2016 budget, people are not sure exactly what happened with it. Was it implemented fully? Because through the year, there was really no impact on people's lives. Even with infrastructure, we didn't necessarily see things change. Power hasn't necessarily improved drastically. We didn't see a lot of roads being transformed. So it's like, and the budget has increased in 2017, I think by about ₦1 trillion.
Yes.
We're not sure how it's going to be funded, how it's going to be. Of course, recurring expenditure is huge. It's almost ballooned beyond measure now. And we thought Mr. President did say one of his things he was going to do was reduce the size of government, basically. It looks like that's not happening. So what's your take on it generally?
Well, thank you for having me once more. You see, on the issue of the budget, so far, I think we need to change or try to look at this from a separate perspective now, on the need for the improvement in the standards of living, because in essence that's what the budget is meant to do. So, but you see, focus on infrastructure now. There are not things that we expect to get to see the results instantly. Infrastructure is an investment, so one can turn around the infrastructural status of Nigeria with a year budget. So I think it's a process, is a process that is going on, that is ongoing. Yeah. So, and I think with the budget this year again, with the kind of seriousness again this year on the emphasis on infrastructure by the budget, I think is a progressive one. Yeah. It's a progressive one, as different from what we've been having in the past. Yeah. I think majorly that a whole lot of things have happened. In the past, we heard about budget padding and all that, and the need to protect or to prevent that from happening so far. Thank God, I think the Senate is going to resume from their plenary in January, and we're going to hear everything that has happened or what they've discovered so far from this. Let's hope that we're not going to hear about the padding again. So, but basically, I think my take on this is that there has been some level of improvement in the sanity of the implementation of the budget so far. Now, we might not get the necessary results that people are expecting, because a lot of loopholes have been blocked. We heard about this single TSA and all that. Those were, in the past, we have a process or a system where there were free monies here and there, unspent money by MDAs, ministry departments and agencies. But this time around, all that has been mopped up. So we're not having that free money any longer. So perhaps a whole lot of people, or a chunk of those that have been complaining about the fact that the lives of Nigerians have not changed or something has happened so far, are those that, perhaps ignorantly or one way or another have been benefiting from the proceeds of corruption. Yeah, but of course, now that is not to say.
Yeah, you can't take away from the fact that the average Nigerian has had. 2016 for a lot of people by a long mile has been the toughest year.
Yes,
decades for a lot of people. Things have been really tough, and there's really no. Nothing tangible for a lot of people to hold on to say, okay, this is what we are going to be looking forward to next year. And one of the biggest issues this government has been promises. They made a lot of promises before they got into government about things they were going to achieve, and we heard a lot of that again in the budget for 2017, where Mr. President has said this time we're going to start seeing results. Yes. And a lot of people have. The biggest worry for most people is, where's the money going to come from? There's a benchmark of, I think, $48 per barrel for the budget. At 2.2 billion barrels a day, we're not even sure we're ever going to get to that capacity ever again. Yes. Oil is not as big as it was anymore. There's a dollar exchange rate of 308 naira, I think. These are some things that, for the average Nigerian, are obviously unrealistic. Yes. So you leave you to wonder, have we failed even before we started implementing?
Yes, I think I'm not going to hold brief for the federal government, and I think an ordinary Nigerian deserves to get the kind of welfare that they've craved for in bringing in this government. So I think the government has to buckle up to ensure that the common man that doesn't even read, that doesn't even know the figures in the budget, are getting things, not the big men and those that are close to the corridors of power. Basically, there are a lot of issues now that can make things happen. The ordinary people, even common Nigerians, are part of the problems that we're having so far. We hear in a market in Ekiti where the market leader went from market to force down the prices of goods. Someone selling gari and common staples in Nigeria that doesn't really have anything to do with dollars will tell you that the cost of dollars or rise in dollars has affected the cost of gari, palm oil, and things that are produced here. So I think we all, and these are common things now. These are very little common things that an ordinary Nigerian needs. So the government so far needs to come down to the level of reasoning of Nigerians and ensure that we turn this budget or governance into welfareism. Yeah. The people need to get results. Yes, corruption has to be fought, a lot of things have to be done, but the common man wants food on his table. Yeah. The common man wants to be able to afford school fees of his words, to transport themselves to walk to and fro, and live just the simple life, to get electricity, move on good roads and all that. Yeah. So now one very important thing that I think has happened and that is not going down well, or that I viewed from my own point of view that is not a welcome something from the government now, is the fact that these things are happening and the budget, petroleum price, fuel price, and many things have gone skyrocketed, but the salaries
have been stagnant.
Have been stagnant. There's no provision in this budget on the increment of salary, minimum wage, as is being called. Yeah. So I think that has to be looked into. There's no need to delay. If you go to the markets, the prices of foods and everything, every commodity has increased to a level that is not affordable, by the common man. So I think that has to be done. If that is happening, then the government should come down to the level of Nigerians, give out increased salaries to an appreciable amount or extent that people will be able to cushion the effects that we're facing as a result of
another thing that Mr. President did point out was that there's a projection that the economy would grow by, I think, 2.7% next year. We're in a recession right now, and this is the first year analysts have said that the economy will contract in over 20 years, so we're going to go into a negative for the first time. Do you see that happening really, realistically?
Well, I think one good thing again that this government had going is the fact that about last week, the projection for oil benchmark, that is the basis on which our budget, our yearly budget or something has been based on, I think it's between 43 or 45 naira. Just last week, we had a 57, we have the prices of crude oil internationally now increased to $57 per barrel, as a result of the withholding of output by the members of OPEC and even non-members. So, and I think that will work well for this country. Our external reserve has dipped to a record low. So I think with this excess that we are going to have now, let's hope and pray that it goes up higher and higher again. The price of crude oil increases. So with that said, I think the government should try as much as possible to balance whatever effect that is going to have on the life of ordinary Nigerians.
Well, we can only wait and see. The Senate has even gone to recession. Into recess. Sorry, the National Assembly as a whole, and they're going to resume, I think, on the 7th of January. So we'll not get the budget until, going by their track record, it might be around March.
Well,
hopefully earlier than that.
And we hope there won't be controversies, because the Senate President made it clear that the budget is just a proposal. Yeah. The senators or the National Assembly will have to readjust everything that is there.
All of that. So we'll see how that plays out. But let's move on now to still sticking with the National Assembly. Very controversial news this week. The head of the EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, his appointment was rejected? Yeah, I'll use that word.
Yes.
By the Senate on grounds of for security reasons. Apparently, there's a security report about him which the Senate said they were not comfortable with. But there's a lot of things have been thrown out based on this, with regards to conspiracy theories, with regards to the DSS, with regards to the Chief Security Officer of Mr. President. There's so much happening. There's even Mr. Senate President is even involved apparently in all of this. I don't know. Do you think this was a valid thing to have been done?
Well, I think I have to confess that the presidency or this government is getting complicated with what is happening so far. Those that are genuinely interested in the agenda or this anti-corruption agenda of the president have seen Mr. Magu as one person that is incorruptible and someone that has been doing it and has been fighting it headlong. But you see, with what has happened so far in the National Assembly, before the National Assembly session with him, before they rejected him, there has been issues of about him being at loggerheads with some key members of Mr. President's kitchen cabinet, the Chief of Staff, Agbabiaka, especially, on some allegations now that he let out some documents or some confidential document or facts or some things like that, especially on the MTN issues, settlement issues, 500 million MTN issues to Sahara Reporter and some other news outlets. So I believe this kind of a thing should happen, especially with that idea about corruption fighting back. If you fight corruption, corruption is going to fight back. So it's not surprising. Others have said, or in some quarter it's been said that a whole lot of former governors are in the National Assembly, and some other deputy governors and some other government officials are there in the National Assembly that have been probed by EFCC. And perhaps this man has not been able to, he's not been porous to the kind of settlement that anybody would want to quash whatever case they have. So I think it's one thing that is a disservice to the presidency if, by what we understood so far, the pedestrian understanding is that the power that be do not want this man. And he has gone to the National Assembly for confirmation. The presidency sent his name for confirmation and he has been rejected. Yeah. And in the whole of this, there seems to be a good rapport between recently the Senate presidency or even the national leadership of the National Assembly and Mr. President himself. So if those that are working with the president are doing this and Mr. Magu is the one championing the major agenda of Mr. President, and we're having this kind, then I think it's mixed up in some kind of controversy. Yeah. Mr. President has to be straight and comes out, because it all goes back to his table.
But some have said that Mr. Magu himself has not necessarily helped his own case, in all of this. I mean, he's been accused several times of being selective with those who he's probing. He's also been accused of going on a media circus many times where he basically prosecutes people in the media before they even get any evidence or anything against them. So we hear all of this, oh, I've arrested, this person is guilty. Meanwhile, no court proceedings have started. And also, he hasn't been very well with his quote-unquote PR. Okay. I mean, I even saw an interview he had on Sunrise Daily here, where, simple things Nigerians would have wanted him to clarify on, it seemed like he wasn't necessarily interested in doing that. People have said, I mean, explain your case to us and let us understand what it is and what is different about the EFCC today. So do you think he also had a hand in all of this?
Well, I think that those suggestions or analysis or remarks by people that are outside that are not part of the system, observers now, I think they have a right to their opinions, to their personal opinion on what is happening about Magu. But I think the major bone of contention is the fact that the Senate perhaps is the result of the whole of these things that have accumulated in the fact that the Senate just needed something to check him out, and they got a willing accomplice also with the DSS, because he also had a running battle with Mr. Daura, that is the DG, Director General of DSS, some times ago, alongside Mr. Agbabiaka. So I think if that has happened and the Senate gave, the only reason they gave was the damning reports about him concerning from the DSS about him, and that's the basis with which they rejected him. I think Mr. President, I say it again, is about the best to come out and clarify this. And we heard recently that after that he went to the presidency, was blocked from seeing Mr. President. So Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari needs to come out and let's understand what is going on.
Yeah. Which has been one of the biggest problems with this government. I always say there's next to no communication and we never really know what's happening. But thanks for being here today, Ahmed. We'll take a break now and be right back.
Just